If you want to understand a city, watch what people eat before work. And with just $10 in your pocket, could you eat your way through an entire day in Saigon? By midnight, one dish will still be waiting for me, a dish I've managed to avoid my entire life. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know this channel isn't really about fancy restaurants. It's about everyday life. So today, I'm spending an entire day eating only the foods ordinary people in Saigon actually eat, starting in a local market and ending in a night market after midnight. I'll keep a running total on screen the entire day so you can see exactly how much a day of eating like a local really costs. And yes, we're ending with balut. I've lived here my entire life and somehow never eaten one. Tonight, that changes. Let's start where many locals start their day. 7 a.m., a local market in District 4. No tourists, just people grabbing breakfast before work. Traditional markets like these are changing. Younger office workers usually stop at roadside stalls or order delivery instead. But places like this still survive because they serve the neighborhood around them. One thing you'll notice quickly in District 4 is fermented fish. Everywhere. District 4 used to be a working-class port neighborhood. Many families here came from Vietnam's river regions. You can still see that influence in the food today. Breakfast in Vietnam can be surprisingly heavy. Hot soup, noodles, duck, before work. This is Bun Mam, duck noodle soup with bamboo shoots. And in southern Vietnam, it almost always comes with ginger fish sauce on the side. One thing I've always found interesting about Vietnam is how much fresh vegetables people eat. For many people here, a bowl doesn't feel complete without herbs. And of course, soy milk. Cheap, simple, and everywhere. Breakfast total, $1.50. After breakfast, let's stay in the market for a little longer. On hot days like this, herbal drinks are everywhere. Most people simply call it nuoc sam. There's a reason these stalls are always busy. This market mainly serves workers and nearby residents. You'll find mostly practical things here, the kinds of things people buy every single day. And now, back to work. It's lunchtime, and lunch in Saigon rarely ends with just lunch. Usually there's a drink afterwards, sometimes dessert, sometimes both. Today's first stop is Canh Bun, a thick noodle soup with crab, tofu, and water spinach. Right next to it, Bun Rieu, similar ingredients, completely different flavor. One thing many visitors don't realize is that Vietnam has hundreds of noodle dishes. Most of them never leave the country. Outside almost every market in Vietnam, you'll find dessert carts like these, usually with dozens of different options. Today I'm trying Che Troi Nuoc and Che Ba Ba.
Cái này là cũng múc về luôn là 15.000 này.
Dạ.
Còn cái này là chỉ 10.000 này.
Dạ, hút cho con ly.
After that, an iced coconut drink, because surviving a Saigon afternoon without a drink is almost impossible.
Chia cho con một ly này.
Ly này múc 10.000 được không?
Dạ.
Ly này múc 10 được không?
Dạ được. 10 15 gì cũng được.
15 luôn ha.
Dạ.
Đừng quay cô vô là được rồi.
Dạ.
Cô có nhiều thứ lắm.
Dạ rồi, cho 2 ly rồi.
After eating all morning, I needed a break from food. Saigon has a habit of doing this. One minute you're standing in a noisy market. Ten minutes later, you're standing in front of a 200-year-old mummy. This is the Ho Chi Minh City Museum of History. The museum covers thousands of years of Vietnamese history. From stone tools, to royal clothing, to religious sculptures. This section belongs to the Tran dynasty, a period many historians consider one of Vietnam's strongest eras. Most famous for defeating the Mongol Empire 3 separate times, the same empire that conquered much of Asia and Europe. It's still hard for me to imagine how a small kingdom managed to do that, and these wooden stakes were used during the famous Battle of Bac Dang River, one of the battles that changed Vietnamese history. Lunch might be over, but in Vietnam, that doesn't always mean eating is over. Cakes made from cassava, mung beans, coconut, ingredients that show up everywhere in southern Vietnam. A couple of hours later, street snacks start appearing again. And then there are the fried snacks, the dangerous part of Vietnamese street food. Cheap, crispy, and somehow always impossible to walk past. Inside, pork, quail eggs, mushrooms, and glass noodles. This one cost about 35 cents, probably not helping my $10 challenge. Next is Bun Mam, one of Vietnam's most divisive dishes. Some people fall in love with it immediately, others never recover from the smell. Unlike pho, Bun Mam gets its flavor from fermented fish broth, strong, salty, and unforgettable. Somehow, all of this ends up making sense together. Then comes Banh
Dạ.
but not the version most visitors know. This is Mekong Delta Banh, bigger, softer, and somehow even more generous.
Ngon mà, ngon mà. Cảm ơn. Quay phim. Ăn sao? Đúng hả? Đấy, vậy nè. Bỏ rau vô đó, anh không ăn bánh xèo miền Tây bao giờ. Làm bếp cô. Chứ vậy ăn vậy nó mới ngon chứ. Hả? Nó nhạn là bỏ cái chén rồi đó là lùa ha. Vậy đâu có ngon đâu. Tôm nè, gói.
Ôi, quá ngon luôn.
If Bun Mam represents the bold side of southern Vietnam, this might represent its welcoming side. Inside you'll find pork, seafood, steamed mung beans, and even heart of palm, the tender core of a coconut tree, a specialty from Vietnam's river regions.
Giờ tới phần gói bánh nha, có thịt. Thịt heo. Bánh chén đâu ta? À, cũng vô rau hả?
Like most meals here, it comes with more herbs than I can count.
Một cuốn với là chiều khỏi ăn cơm luôn. Bỏ một con cơm. Rau.
And the name? That part is simple. Sio, sio, sio. It's the sound the batter makes the moment it hits the pan. On the way to our next stop, I found one of my favorite childhood snacks. Coconut sprouts. You only find them inside old coconuts that are about to become new trees. Sweet, soft, and surprisingly addictive. Almost every neighborhood seems to have at least one dessert cart. The queue here told me everything I needed to know. This shop has been here for more than 20 years. Most customers seem to know exactly what they're ordering before they even get there. Their best seller is green jelly dessert with coconut, mung beans, and coconut milk. Not too sweet, cold, refreshing, exactly what you need in Saigon heat. Sitting on a plastic chair by the sidewalk somehow always makes it taste better. Midnight in Saigon. This is Thi Ky night market. Most cities are slowing down by now. Saigon is still grilling things. First stop, Balut. I've avoided this dish my entire life. Balut is a fertilized duck egg, which means, yes, there's a baby duck inside. I've lived in Vietnam my entire life, and somehow, I've never eaten one. Tonight was supposed to change that. Unfortunately, I failed. The yolk was good though. Next came quail balut with tamarind sauce, like regular balut, only smaller. Which somehow didn't make it any less scary. To make up for that failure, I decided to try something else I'd avoided my entire life. Grilled bone marrow.
Phải để yên cái canh nha.
Rich, fatty, extremely rich. For someone who doesn't even eat much fat, this was a challenge. Three bites later, I knew one thing. This would probably be my last time eating it. Anyway, that's one day of eating through Saigon, from local markets before work to night markets after midnight. A city that somehow always seems to find room for one more meal. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you in the next adventure.